Rabih az-Zubayr, popularly known as Rabah in French, was a Sudanese warlord and slave trader who built a formidable empire east of Lake Chad in modern-day Chad. Born circa 1842 to an Arabic tribe in Halfaya al-Muluk, a Khartoum suburb, he first served with the irregular Egyptian cavalry in the Ethiopian expedition, where he was wounded. When Rabih az-Zubayr left the army in the 1860s, he became the chief lieutenant of Sudanese slaveholder Sebehr Rahma. Rabih az-Zubayr, a Nubian chieftain, antagonized the French in 1899 by hanging one of their explorers. After Rabih destroyed their punitive mission, the French launched 3 columns against his dominion surrounding Lake Chad, one from each of their key African bases: Congo, Algeria, and Senegal. The French were victorious this time, defeating and killing Rabih at the Battle of Kousséri. Rabih's soldiers invaded Darfur in 1887, recruited Bazingirs, and established in Darkouti. Nevertheless, his campaign against the Aguid Salamat Sharif ed-Din, leader of the Sultan of Uadai's troops, was unsuccessful. In order to modernize his army, Rabih attempted, but failed, to reach an agreement with the Royal Niger Company in Yola and Ibi in 1895 to obtain gunpowder and munitions. He began opposing the company in 1896 and marched on Kano the following year, while his subordinate Muhammad al-Sanusi in Dar al-Kuti established a fortified capital, Ndele, between Bar Aouk and the Ubangi River, which the Sanusites controlled until 1911. On the way to Borno, Rabih imprisoned the Sultan of Karnak Lagon, whose capital promptly welcomed him. Shehu Ashimi of Borno dispatched 15,000 troops to attack Rabih, who routed them with only 2,000 horses in May or September 1893, first at Ampobia, south of Dekoa, and later at Legarua. Rabih az-Zubayr encountered Kiari at Ganshagar, 2 days' walk from Kukawa, Borno's capital. Kiari defeated Rabih and took his camp. The next day, Rabih assembled his warriors and instructed 100 lashes for all his bannermen, including his favorite son, Fadlala. Only Boubacar, who had battled valiantly, was not killed. Then he launched a successful counteroffensive, and Kiari, who had refused to flee, was apprehended and executed. Kukawa, the capital city, was robbed and razed to the ground. Rabih made Dikwa his capital and built a palace that eventually won the admiration of French governor Émile Gentil. According to local mythology, there was a water scarcity during building, so blood was mixed with sand to make the walls. Rabih was Shehu of the Borno Empire for 7 years, and he worked hard to revitalize a decrepit empire that had retained the same feudal arrangements it had in the 16th century. He established a Sharia-based legal system, simplified taxation through the development of a budget, and enforced a military dictatorship on Borno, attracting the attention of colonial powers. Émile Gentil would subsequently speak of Rabih's changes in Borno with enthusiasm. They would later inspire him to organize Chad's territory. Much is said about his harshness. For example, he once murdered one of his concubines for keeping a talisman aimed to earn Rabih's affection, as well as the Marabout who had interpreted the talisman. Or about the hours he spent listening to Ali, the poet who sang his exploits. Rabah had 10,000 troops and horsemen at his disposal in 1899, as well as a large number of volunteers armed with spears or bows. Rabih received the French adventurer Ferdinand de Béagle in Dekoa in 1899. Their arguments became heated, and Béagle was detained. Lieutenant Bretonnet, who had been assigned by France to fight Rabih, was killed together with the majority of his soldiers on July 17th during the Battle of Togbao, near the Chari River in present-day Sar. Rabih obtained 3 cannons as a result of this battle and directed his son, Fadlala, whom he had left in Dikoa, to hang Behagle. Rabih and the French had their final encounter on April 22, 1900. The French forces racked up 700 soldiers, plus the allied Bagirmi people's 600 riflemen and 200 cavalries. The French attacked Rabih's camp in 3 columns, leaving Kousséri in the middle. Although the leader, Lami, was killed in the next combat, Rabih's forces were overrun, and Rabih was killed while fleeing across the Chari River. Rabih's dominion crumbled quickly after his defeat. His son, Fadlallah, was defeated and died a year later. Except for Borno, all of Rabih's domains were captured by the French.